departs Washington D.C. tonight, repatriating some 275 South Africans who were stuck in the United States since the national lockdown came into effect on the 27th of March. It has taken a lot of cooperative effort to enable this, and joining us on the line is South Africa's Consular General to New York, Motumisi Tawana. Mr. Tawana, very good evening to you. Thanks for joining us. Welcome.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be on your show.
Do talk to us about the process and what had to be done to get to this point.
Well, we at first received a lot of communication calls, emails from South Africans who were stuck following the lockdown that happened basically globally and in South Africa in light of the coronavirus pandemic. And upon receiving these calls, emails, as consulate and the embassy in Washington D.C, we started putting together lists of the South Africans that are stranded, that are distressed, that wanted to be assisted in terms of being repatriated to eventually go back home. And it's been a lot of hours, nights, sleepless nights, doing our all to ensure that eventually get to this point whereby, as you stated today, the first of the 3 flights will take over. Will take off this evening in Washington, D.C. with 275 passengers on board, and then tomorrow the second one and the third one on the 9th will be taking off.
So the 275, is it the total number of South Africans wanting to come back home, or are you still going to look, attending to some more inquiries with regards to South Africans who are stranded there?
No, 275 is just the number for today. South Africans that are living today that could be accommodated by our national airline, the SAA. So it's just for today, 275. We have in excess of about 1,000 people in the U.S. that are seeking to go back home. Here in New York, we have roughly 300 people that want to fly back home. So about 70 of them will be flying out, who are based in the New York area. There will be another 275 flying out in Washington, D.C. And another roughly same number tomorrow will be flying out, at roughly 70 from who used to be in the Washington State area. So
yeah,
we're talking of over 1,000 South Africans altogether who want to go back home, who are set to leave on the 3 flights over the mentioned 3 days.
So of the 1,000 plus South Africans who are already in the United States, and we do understand that some of them are stranded because their work of employment or places of employment, I beg your pardon, has been shut, and they're just stranded. So do we know who these South Africans are, and who is taking care of them at this point?
Well, a number of them, fortunately, were students, others came as tourists, others were employed, others were interns, others were visiting family, friends. It depends. And then you also had those who did not have the means where it was possible. We facilitated a situation whereby we linked them up with places of shelter, for example, where they were looked after. And so it's people from across all walks of life that we are talking about, tourists, students, people who were visiting family, friends who had come for weddings, who had come for a whole variety of activities here in the U.S.
And there's so many of them who are spread out in different parts of the United States. So whose responsibility is it to ensure that they are collected from the different parts of the United States and then gathered in one central point where they will then be repatriated?
Well, the consulates, we have 3 consulates, for example. New York, the consulate in New York covering 15 states. in the New York area, the Eastern Seaboard, what we call the Eastern Seaboard of the U.S. We have Chicago, which is covering around 12 or 13 other states, and that is Illinois. And then the other consulate in LA, Los Angeles, covering California, and 10 other states on the West Coast. And then Washington D.C. being the embassy, basically responsible for the rest of these states, but overall responsible for South Africa's representation in the U.S. So the embassy and the consulates work as a team in consolidating assistance and facilitating assistance to the South Africans that have reached out to us, that had already, in a few cases, informed us of their presence in the U.S. It is also, I must stress, important when South Africans go abroad that they reach out to the embassies, the consulates, to let the embassies and consulates know that they are in the U.S. or whichever country, so that when they're in distress or they face challenges, we know how to get hold of them. In many cases, they were reaching us for the very first time, and it was not a very easy process, whereas it's always advisable when you are abroad to let your embassy or the nearest consulate know of your presence in the country in case of an emergency, at least you know who to call.
So in short, Mr. Tawana, the consulate will see to it that they are transported from the different states to Washington. Well, then they'll all be, repatriated, considering the mobility restrictions that are currently in place.
Yeah, what the consulate does is facilitate the process, like sharing the information, informing them, if possible, early enough that there are these flights taking off this weekend, and make arrangements to go to Washington D.C., for example, especially those South Africans that had already registered with us, and that then receive the information as to what they need to do to, for example, make payments with SAA, and then make arrangements then on their own to fly from whether it's New York City or Massachusetts, Boston, or LA, California, and so on, to get to Washington, D.C. to then connect their flight. Our ambassador will be in Washington, D.C., for example, at the airport, Washington Dallas Airport, this evening to see them off.
Okay.
So that's the role that the embassy and the consulates play. We facilitate assistance for the South Africans, and where possible, like we spoke about, places of shelter, connecting those who needed assistance to be linked to places of shelter. In a few cases where we had, for example, one South African who did not have the needs completely, they facilitated the situation whereby a sponsor could be found to pay for this passenger's airline costs, and then others who did not have the needs completely, like this particular passenger, they had to do an acknowledgement of debt, submit or fill forms acknowledging a debt that would be incurred for flying back to South Africa without the needs. So overall, at the end of the day, each and every person, it's not a free ride to go back home.
Okay.
They have a responsibility to take care of the cost.
Consular Tawana, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate your update.
It's a pleasure. Thank you so much for your show. Good night.
Right. That was Consular General to New York, Mr. Motumisi Tawana, joining us on the line. We'll take a quick break.